Let me tell you something right now. Debt is one of the heaviest chains a person can carry. And for seniors living on a fixed income, it can feel downright crushing. Hey, you've worked hard your whole life, you've paid your dues, and yet in retirement, the phone keeps ringing, the letters keep showing up, and the bills never seem to end. But here's the truth. No one's rushing to tell you, not all debt is permanent. Some debts, believe it or not, you can legally walk away from. That's right. No tricks, no loopholes, no guilt trips, just the law working in your favor for once. And in 2025, with new protections, clearer rules, and stronger safeguards for seniors, you've got more power than you realize. This isn't about dodging responsibility. It's about knowing your rights, protecting what you've earned, and making sure no collector robs you of your peace of mind. Today, I'm going to break down the 5 debts seniors can legally erase in 2025, and by the time we're done, you're going to feel lighter, stronger, and maybe even a little excited about your financial future again. Because the truth is, retirement should be about freedom, not fear. Understanding the difference between good debt and uncollectible debt. Most seniors spend their whole lives being told one simple rule. If you borrow money, you pay it back. It's drilled into us from childhood, reinforced by society, and used by banks, credit card companies, and collectors to make sure we never question a bill that lands on our doorstep. But here's the reality. When you hit retirement, the rules change. Not every debt is worth paying, and not every bill is enforceable. Some debts are what I call good debt, and some are what the law recognizes as uncollectible debt. Knowing the difference is the first step to protecting your money, your sanity, and your retirement years. What is good debt? Now, when I say good debt, I'm not saying it feels good. Nobody likes owing money, but good debt is the kind of obligation that makes sense to honor, either because it's tied to something valuable you need or because paying it actually benefits you. 4.8, for example, a mortgage on your home. Paying this down protects your roof over your head. That's good debt because it's tied to a real valuable asset. A car loan if you need a vehicle to get to doctor appointments, groceries, or simply live your life, keeping that loan current matters. That's good debt. A small business loan that still earns you income, if that debt is helping you generate cash flow, then yes, it's still working in your favor. 8. Good debt is about leverage. It's when the benefit of keeping the account in good standing outweighs the pain of repayment. If missing payments means losing your house, car, or any essential security, that's debt you want to handle. What is uncollectible debt? Now let's talk about the other side, uncollectible debt. 8. This is the kind of debt seniors need to know about because it's the type you can legally walk away from without losing sleep. Here's the key. Creditors and collectors don't want you to know that some debts are unenforceable. They'll keep calling, keep sending letters, and keep trying to scare you into paying. But the truth is, once a debt falls into this category, they can't make you pay it. Ever. Expired by statute of limitations, every state has laws that set time limits on how long a creditor can legally sue you for unpaid debt. Once that clock runs out, the debt still exists on paper, but it's legally uncollectible. Collectors may call, but they can't win in court. 8. That means they've lost their real power. Discharged in bankruptcy. If you've gone through bankruptcy, certain debts are completely erased. Collectors may try to come back years later, but if that debt was discharged, it's gone for good. Medical or credit card debt, that's too old to enforce. Many seniors don't realize that those hospital bills or that lingering credit card balance from 10 years ago may already be past enforcement. 8. They might still appear on your phone as a collection call, but legally they're powerless. Debts without proper documentation, sometimes the 4.8. Collectors can't even prove you owe the debt. They bought it from another company for pennies on the dollar, and they don't have the paperwork to back it up. 8. If they can't prove it in court, it's uncollectible. The trap of fear and guilt. Now here's where it gets sneaky. Collectors thrive on fear and guilt. They'll use words like responsibility or honor to make you feel like you're doing something wrong if you don't pay. They'll even threaten lawsuits they can't win or imply they can garnish Social Security, which in most cases they legally cannot. But let me set this straight. Walking away from uncollectible debt is not the same as stealing. It's not breaking the rules. It's playing by the rules that exist. The law says you don't have to pay, so why should you hand over money you need for food, medicine, or rent just to satisfy a collector's scare tactics? Why this knowledge is power for seniors? Imagine this. You're living on a fixed retirement income. Every dollar matters. Now you get a call saying you owe $5,000 on a credit card from 15 years ago. Before you know better, you panic. Maybe you even agree to pay a little each month. And suddenly you're draining money that should be covering groceries or medication. But once you understand the difference between good debt and uncollectible debt, you can pause, take a breath, and ask the right questions. How old is this debt? What's the statute of limitations in my state? Can they actually prove I owe it? Will paying this debt improve my life in retirement? Or just line a collector's pocket? 8. Knowledge turns fear into confidence. Instead of feeling trapped, you can stand your ground, protect your income, and focus on the debts that matter. Real life example, take a senior named Mary. She had a 2,000 medical bill from 2008 that ended up in collections. For years, collectors harassed her. She thought she had no choice but to pay something, even though she was barely getting by. But once she learned about uncollectible debt and checked the statute of limitations in her state, she realized they couldn't touch her legally. Overnight, the weight lifted. That 2,000 wasn't her problem anymore. It was just noise on the phone she could ignore. That's the difference this knowledge makes. Bottom line, the first key to financial freedom in retirement isn't a magic investment or a lottery ticket. It's clarity. Clarity about which debts are worth paying and which debts the law already says you don't owe. Good debt protects your future. Uncollectible debt, that's dead weight you don't have to carry anymore. The statute of limitations and how it protects seniors. Let's get real here. One of the most powerful tools in a senior's financial toolkit is something most people don't even know exists: the statute of limitations on debt. It's like a hidden clock running in the background, ticking down the time that collectors can legally come after you. Once that time is up, the debt may still exist on paper, but it loses its legal teeth. And here's the kicker: debt collectors don't want you to know about this clock. They'll still call you, still send scary letters, and still talk like you owe them forever. But the truth is, when the statute of limitations expires, the law is on your side, not theirs. Understanding this is the difference between living in constant fear of debt collectors and finally breathing free. The statute of limitations is a legal time limit. 48, it tells creditors and debt collectors how long they have to sue you for an unpaid debt. After that period runs out, they can yell, threaten, or beg all they want, but they can't drag you to court and win. Why this matters for seniors? Think about this. You're 70 years old, living on Social Security and a modest pension. You get a call about a credit card you defaulted on in 2010. That's 15 years ago. Do you really think a judge is going to side with the collector on that? Not a chance, because the statute of limitations has long expired. But here's the trap. Seniors who don't know their rights often get intimidated into paying on old, expired debts. That's money that could have gone toward medication, groceries, or enjoying retirement. Knowledge here isn't just power, it's protection. How collectors use fear and confusion. Collectors are professionals at using fear. They'll say things like, if you don't pay, we'll take you to court. We can garnish your income. This debt will follow you to the grave. The danger of zombie debt. Here's another dirty trick, something called zombie debt. This is old, expired debt that collectors try to bring back from the dead. How do they do it? By getting you to acknowledge the debt or make a small payment. Let's say you get a call about an old bill, and without thinking, you say, "Yeah, I remember that. I'll send $5 this month." Boom, you've just restarted the statute of limitations clock. That old, unenforceable debt is suddenly alive again, and now they've got you. That's why seniors need to be extra careful. Never admit to a debt or make a good faith payment until you know for sure whether it's still enforceable. If you do, you could accidentally give collectors the legal power they lost years ago. Real life example, take a man named George. He was retired, living on Social Security, when he got a call about a $4,000 credit card balance from 2009. The collector said, "We'll sue you if you don't pay." Scared, George agreed to pay $25 a month. What he didn't realize was that the debt was already past the statute of limitations. By making that first payment, he restarted the clock and gave the collector new legal power to sue. How seniors can protect themselves. Here are some practical steps to take when you get contacted about an old debtee. Don't admit to anything. If a collector asks, "Do you recognize this debt?" your answer should be, "Send me proof." Never confirm over the phone. Ask for validation in writing. Collectors are legally required to provide written verification of a debt. This will show you the date and details, 8, so you can check the statute of limitations. Check your state's laws. Look up the statute of limitations for different types of debt where you live. Know the timelines. Consult a lawyer if needed. Many states have free legal aid for seniors. A quick consultation could save you thousands. Why this isn't about dodging responsibility now? Some folks hear this and think, isn't it wrong to walk away from a debt? But let's be clear, the statute of limitations exists for a reason. If a company can't collect within a fair time frame, the law says they don't get to keep harassing you for life. It's not cheating the system, that's the system protecting you. The bigger picture, the statute of limitations isn't just about stopping one collector. It's about peace of mind. Imagine never again worrying that some old bill from decades ago could pop up and ruin your retirement. Imagine hanging up the phone with confidence instead of fear. That's the gift this knowledge gives you. Bottom line, debt collectors love to act like they hold all the cards. But the truth is, the law has rules too, and one of the strongest is the statute of limitations. Once that clock runs out, the debt is no longer enforceable. That means you don't have to pay and you don't have to be scared. So here's the takeaway. Learn the timelines in your state. Don't let fear trick you into restarting old debts. And never forget, you've got more power than the collectors want you to believe. Types of debt seniors can walk away from without guilt. One of the hardest things for seniors to accept is the idea that some debts simply don't have to be paid. For decades, we're told you borrow, you pay. That's the honorable thing to do. And while that mindset works during your working years, retirement is a whole different ball game. You're no longer bringing in a big paycheck. Your resources are limited. And every dollar you spend is a dollar you may never get back. That means you need to focus on protecting yourself, not lining the pockets of debt collectors who prey on fear. Here's the truth. Not every debt deserves your hard-earned money. Some debts are legally unenforceable. Some are designed to be forgiven. 8. And others just don't hold the same weight once you hit retirement. Let's break down the types of debt seniors can walk away from without guilt. Old credit card debt credit cards are some of the most common sources of stress for retirees. Maybe you had to use one during tough times, or maybe interest piled up faster than you could pay it off. But here's the key. Credit card debt has a statute of limitations, just like other debts. In many states, that's anywhere from 3 to 6 years. After that, the debt still exists on paper, but it's legally uncollectible. That means no court can force you to pay it, no matter how aggressive the collector sounds on the phone. Collectors might try to shame you with lines like, "You used the card, didn't you? We'll keep calling until you pay." Medical debt, medical bills are one of the biggest debt traps for seniors. A single hospital stay can leave you with thousands in bills, even if you have insurance. But here's what most seniors don't realize: medical debt is often negotiable, reducible, or outright uncollectible over time. Hospitals and providers sell medical debt to third-party collectors for pennies on the dollar. By the time those collectors come calling, they've paid so little for your debt that you have the power. If the debt is years old, you can challenge it or simply refuse to pay if it's past the statute of limitations. And let's be clear, no senior should ever feel guilty about not paying an outrageous medical bill. Healthcare in retirement is about survival, not profit. You didn't choose to get sick. You didn't choose the inflated hospital charges. Walking away from uncollectible medical debt isn't immoral, it's survival. Utility bills and old service accounts. Ever had a phone bill, internet bill, or electric bill that slipped through the cracks years ago? Utility companies are quick to send unpaid accounts to collections. But just like credit card debt, these too have a statute of limitations. If you haven't used that service in years and the debt is old enough, it's likely uncollectible. Sure, 8. It might still show up on a credit report for a while, but as a senior, your priority isn't boosting a credit score, it's protecting your retirement income. A collector might say, "Hey, pay now or it will hurt your credit." But ask yourself, is credit even a major concern in retirement? Probably not. Certain personal loans, not all loans are created equal. If you borrowed money from a bank or lender years ago and it's been unpaid for a long time, it too can fall under the statute of limitations. Collectors love to buy old personal loans and try to scare seniors into paying them. But if they can't prove the debt in court, you're free and clear. And here's another truth: some of these lenders never even keep the right paperwork. By the time the debt changes hands a few times, the original proof of what you owe is gone. If they can't prove it, you don't have to pay it. Debts wiped out by bankruptcy is a tough decision, but for some seniors, it's a necessary fresh start. If you've ever gone through it, you need to remember this: once a debt is discharged in bankruptcy, it's gone for good. Period. The emotional side of letting go. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: guilt. Many seniors feel ashamed at the thought of not paying a debt. They'll say things like, "But I borrowed the money." 8. It's my duty. What will people think if I walk away? Here's the reality: debt collectors are counting on that guilt to keep you paying. 8. But guilt doesn't pay the bills. Guilt doesn't put food on the table. And guilt sure doesn't keep the lights on. You spent decades working, paying taxes, 8, raising families, and contributing to society. If the law says you don't have to pay, you've earned the right to let it go. 8, walking away from uncollectible debt doesn't make you irresponsible. It makes you smart. The freedom of knowing what doesn't matter. Imagine how much lighter you'd feel if you knew exactly which debts you could stop worrying about. Instead of stressing over every collection call, you'd know that's old credit card debt, uncollectible. Or that medical bill is past its statute. I don't owe it. That's not just financial freedom, it's emotional freedom. It means your retirement years can be spent focusing on family, hobbies, and health, not fighting with collectors over debts that no longer matter. Bottom line, here's the truth seniors need to hear: not every debt deserves your energy. Old credit card debt, medical bills, utility balances, certain personal loans, and debts discharged in bankruptcy are often uncollectible. And if the law says you don't owe, then you don't owe. End of story. Walking away from these debts isn't cheating. It's protecting yourself, your income, and your peace of mind. 48. Retirement should be about enjoying the years you worked so hard for, not about being bullied into paying debts that legally don't matter anymore. So the next time a collector comes knocking, remember this: you have the right to walk away without guilt, without fear, and without apology. Protecting assets and building peace of mind in retirement when you've worked hard all your life and finally stepped into retirement. The last thing you should be worrying about is whether a debt collector can touch your social security check or drain your bank account. Retirement is supposed to be about freedom, dignity, and enjoying the fruits of your labor, not constant fear that someone's going to take it all away. That's why protecting your assets and securing peace of mind is not just smart, it's essential. High protection matters more in retirement during your working years. You could always pick up extra shifts, start a side hustle, or push for a promotion if money got tight. But in retirement, your income is fixed. What you've got is what you've got. That makes protecting every dollar a top priority. Here's the reality: collectors know seniors live on fixed incomes. They know you don't have the luxury of bouncing back from financial hits. That's why they go after retirees harder than almost anyone else. But here's the good news: most of the income and assets seniors depend on are protected by law. And once you understand those protections, you can finally rest easy. Social Security off limits in most cases. The number one question seniors ask is, can debt collectors take my Social Security? The answer, in most cases, is no. Federal law protects Social Security from most types of debt collection. Credit card companies, medical bill collectors, and payday lenders cannot legally garnish those benefits. The only exceptions are federal taxes you owe, federal student loans, 8 court-ordered payments like alimony or child support. Outside of those, your Social Security is safe. So the next time a collector tries to scare you by saying, "We'll garnish your check," you can stand firm. If it's consumer debt, they can't touch it. Retirement accounts are shielded too, your retirement savings. Things like 401ks, IRAs, and pensions are also protected in most cases. Creditors can't just dip into your nest egg because you fell behind on a credit card. These accounts are designed to keep you safe in your later years, and the law recognizes that. Of course, once you withdraw money and move it into a regular checking account, protections can get fuzzier. That's why it's important to know your rights and, if possible, keep funds clearly separated. But the bottom line is this: retirement accounts are not a free for all for collectors. Your home and personal belongings, for many seniors, the home is their most valuable asset. And yes, creditors can place liens in certain situations, but here's the key: most states have what's called a homestead exemption. That means a large portion, or in some states, the entire value of your primary residence is protected from creditors. Your personal belongings, like furniture, clothing, and household goods, are also protected. Collectors aren't going to show up at your door and take your couch or your TV. Those scare tactics are just that, tactics. Peace of mind comes from clarity. Here's the thing: most of the fear seniors feel about debt comes from not knowing what can and cannot be touched. Collectors thrive on that uncertainty. They'll say things like, "We'll take your house. We'll freeze your bank account. We'll leave you with nothing." But once you understand your rights, those words lose their sting. You realize that most of your income is untouchable, your retirement accounts are safe, and your home is largely protected. That knowledge doesn't just guard your money, it guards your peace of mind. Smart steps to protect yourself. So, how do you make sure you're fully protected in retirement? Here are some practical steps. Keep Social Security separate. If possible, have it deposited into a dedicated account. That way, if a creditor tries to freeze a regular bank account, your Social Security funds remain clearly identifiable and protected. Don't commingle protected and unprotected funds. Mixing Social Security with other money can make it harder to prove which funds are shielded. Keep it simple and separate. Know your state's exemptions. Every state has rules about what property and assets are protected. A quick conversation with a legal aid attorney can help you understand exactly what applies to you. Don't let fear drive decisions. If a collector threatens action, demand proof. Ask them to show you in writing what they can legally do. In many cases, they'll back down once they realize you know your rights, building peace of mind beyond finances. Now, protecting assets isn't just about money. It's about creating emotional security too. Debt stress can ruin sleep, damage health, and steal the joy out of retirement. 8. But when you put protections in place and know your rights, you gain something priceless, peace of mind. Imagine waking up in the morning without that knot in your stomach. Imagine answering the phone without fear of another collector's voice. That's what financial clarity gives you. It's not just about protecting dollars, it's about protecting your well-being. A real-world example. Let's talk about Clara, a 72-year-old widow who was terrified she'd lose her home over old medical bills. Collectors kept telling her, "We'll put a lion on your house." For months, she barely slept, believing she was one letter away from being homeless. When she finally spoke to a legal aid attorney, she learned her state had a full homestead exemption. That meant her primary residence was completely protected. Overnight, the fear disappeared. Nothing about her financial situation changed. Her bills didn't magically vanish, but the knowledge that her home was safe gave her the peace she needed. Bottom line, retirement should be about enjoying the rewards of a lifetime of work, not living in fear of debt collectors. The truth is, most of what seniors depend on, social security, retirement accounts, homes, personal belongings, is already protected by law. The problem is, too many seniors don't realize it. So here's the takeaway: learn your rights, separate your protected income, and never let fear dictate your financial decisions. Protecting assets isn't just about keeping money safe, it's about keeping your peace of mind intact. Because in retirement, peace of mind is worth more than gold. And once you know the law is on your side, you can finally live those years the way they were meant to be lived: free, secure, and at peace.